America's passenger railroad, Amtrak, is not known for efficient travel around the United States. Due to their aging equipment and lack of funding, it has been noticed that Amtrak has experienced a lot of problems over the years. However, in the 2020s, Amtrak has received a lot of funding to upgrade their current equipment they have now. In this video, I will go over Amtrak's new era of fleet projects that they have undertaken lately, including the Avelia Liberty, ALC-42s, and the new Amtrak Airo trains and what they hold for the year of 2024. With that said, let's get right into it. Chapter 1. The Avelia Liberty. In the mid-2010s, Amtrak started their search for the aging Airo Trainsets as they started service nearly a decade prior. Amtrak turned to Europe's high-speed rail for inspiration for their new trains. They were inspired by France's Alstom Avelia Euro duplex trains seen on the TGV, which were manufactured by the same company as the original SLs. In late 2016, Amtrak received a $2.4 billion loan from the federal government to order a fleet of new high-speed trains built by Alstom. These trains were to be built on Alstom's next-generation Avelia platform. Amtrak and Alstom later released a video teasing this new train, which was to be named the Avelia Liberty. To replace the first-generation Acelas, Amtrak ordered 28 Avelia Liberty Trainsets. These trains would not only be bigger, consisting of 9 cars instead of 6, but also faster, being able to hit a theoretical top speed of 220 miles per hour. In service, these trains would only be able to do 150 miles per hour like the current Acelas, but Amtrak planned for future services to hit 220 once the necessary track improvements are implemented. These trains were then built in 2017 in Alstom's facilities in upstate New York. The first prototype set was sent to the Transportation Technology Center in Pueblo, Colorado in February 2020 for high-speed testing. While these trains were testing, they were capable of reaching speeds up to 165 miles per hour. A second prototype was delivered in March of 2020 to Amtrak for testing along the Northeast Corridor, which began in May of 2020. The first test run went up to Boston South Station on September 28, 2020. On July 20th, 2022, the fourth Avelia Liberty trainset left the Alstom facilities in Horndale, New York to make its way to Philadelphia via the Mohawk subdivision along the Hudson Line and eventually the Northeast Corridor. It's now almost 2024 and the Avelia Liberty still hasn't entered service. In October of 2023, a report from the Amtrak Office of Inspector General revealed that the Avelia Liberty would likely go into service in the second half of 2024. Once the Avelia Liberty enters service, the Acela will retire its fleet. I wouldn't be surprised if a power car or even a whole train would be donated to a museum to show how iconic these trains were. Once the Avelia Liberty enters service, they will be America's most modern, efficient, high-speed, and reliable trains. Chapter 2. ALC-42 Locomotives. By the mid-2010s, Amtrak state-funded routes began to acquire brand new Siemens charger locomotives. These locomotives adhere to strict EPA Tier 4 emission standards. In late 2018, Amtrak announced that they would be ordering 75 Siemens chargers to replace its fleet of Genesis locomotives. These locomotives would be just as efficient and achieve the same low emissions rating as the SC-44s, but would be a better fit for long-distance trains with a larger fuel tank and other features that make it preferable to SC-44s for long-distance trains. In 2021, the first long-distance charger was completed and delivered to Amtrak, classified as an ALC-42 as Amtrak long-distance charger with 4,200 horsepower. When these locomotives debuted, they came with a brand new Phase 6 and later Phase 7 paint scheme, which would sport the new design for these locomotives. During the year of 2021, ALC-42s were tested around the country, and then the first charger entered service in February of 2022 on Amtrak's Empire Builder between Chicago and Seattle. Since then, ALC-42s have been gradually delivered, and as of now, just under 50 locomotives have been built. These locomotives have proven reliable when in service, but challenges have faced them despite these locomotives doing well. These ALC-42s will become a new era for Amtrak, with a brand new type of locomotive showing its reliability, efficiency, and sustainability. The final ALC-42 will be delivered in 2026, marking the retirement of the Genesis series locomotives, and at that point they have shown to be almost 35 years old and have lived a long life. Chapter 3: Airo Trainsets. In late 2021, Amtrak unveiled a massive plan to invest $7.3 billion in a new fleet of trains manufactured by Siemens Mobility. Throughout 2021 and 2022, these new train sets were designed, that being the reveal of the Amtrak Airo at the end of 2022. These Airo train sets will consist of dual-mode locomotives that transition between electrified and non-electrified territory without doing a locomotive switch. This is due to Amtrak's new APV, or Auxiliary Power Vehicle. This vehicle will be a passenger car with either a pantograph or overhead electricity or a battery compartment. Amtrak ordered a total of 73 trains that will come with 3 different types, starting with the Cascades trains. These will enter service in 2024 and will take delivery of 8 Airo trains for use on the Cascades corridor between Eugene, Oregon and Vancouver, British Columbia. These 8 trains will use existing Siemens SC44 charter locomotives. Airo train sets will replace the aging toggle trains on the Cascades, modernizing this corridor route. Next up are the Northeast Corridor trains, which will be capable of operating off both diesel and overhead electric power. These trains will feature 1 auxiliary power vehicle car per train, with the pantograph capturing electricity to power a dual-mode ALC-42 locomotive. A total of 58 trains will be built for the Northeast Corridor, ultimately being used on the following routes: the Northeast Corridor, Keystone, Downeaster, New Haven to Springfield Line, Palmetto, Carolinian, Pennsylvanian, and Vermonter. For the last variant of trains is the Upstate New York trains. These trains will be nearly identical to the 6-car Northeast Corridor trains, with the exception of their overhead electric capabilities. Though they will still feature an APV car behind the locomotive, the Upstate New York trains will feature a small battery compartment. This will be used when these locomotives go into New York's Penn Station tunnels. These trains will replace the AM fleets used on New York services, in addition to the aging P32 ACDM locomotives. In mid-2026, the first Airo train sets will enter service on the Cascades. Following that will be the Northeast Corridor trains, and by 2030, Amtrak will get the Upstate New York trains delivered. This Airo train set project will be completely finished by 2031, marking a new era for Amtrak by replacing all the current equipment they have now to make it a more modern look. Chapter 4: Conclusion. The 2020s have been a time for Amtrak where they have been supported a ton for their funding to improve their trains. As they continue these projects, their fleet of trains will continue to look more modern than they are now. Despite Amtrak's delays and challenges over the years, in a few years from now, Amtrak will look completely different and their whole fleet will rely on advanced and modern trains. With that said, thanks for watching.